Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about carbon sequestration in relation to land cover change, which I love very much as a research topic. And it's not only interesting due to research, also policy is interested in the relationship between land cover change and land use change and carbon and CO2 emissions or reduction of CO2. And due to that, the United Nations installed a program called RED as one example where it's accounted for CO2 in relation to land cover change. And this program wants to reduce the emissions from deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries by paying these reductions. So in contrast to the fuel market, it's quite little, but at least it's already paid if these countries reduce their deforestation or degradation of forest. So what's exactly the impact of land use, land cover change on the anthropogenic carbon emission? So it's around roughly 12% of the net fluxes of carbon. And land cover has quite an interesting role because it's a source of carbon and also a sink of carbon. So in this model we rely more on the land sinks, but it can be both. If you cut the forest, carbon is emitted, but if you regrowth a forest, carbon is stored. So if we now want to quantify for this carbon due to land cover change, first we need some information on the land cover change itself. So this here is an example for Luxembourg, where we have a large extent of built-up areas, but also some increase of forests. But still, especially with changing climate, we can't quantify these carbon fluxes or carbon sequestration and carbon emissions. But to do so, we need further information and we can use further models. So here in values, we use the BIOME-BGC model, a terrestrial ecosystem process model. In the center, we have the canopy, mostly the forestry species. And the model is driven by daily meteorological data. We have rainfall, temperature, and solar radiation. And with this data and some specification on soil type or species type, the model is run and is representing all fluxes, all carbon fluxes within this biome system. So carbon uptake by the roots, photosynthesis is modeled, transpiration, evaporation, and also release from carbon through respiration from the soil is modeled. So here I would like now to show you one example for Luxembourg of the most important tree species, the beech tree. And here you can see the NPP, the night primary productivity of this beech forest for a long time period from 1915 with a future scenario until 2100. And what we can see here, so this is the short-term carbon uptake. The different colors are different soil types. So we can see that the short-term carbon uptake is slightly increasing, which is due to increasing temperature. So the forests are more productive. The vegetation period is extended. We have an earlier start of the season. But not only an increase of the carbon uptake, we also have a higher variability. And this also confirms the increase of extreme events, which we have already at the moment and which is expected to be still increasing in the future. And on my last slide, I now would like to have a look not on the short-term but also on the long-term carbon uptake by the forest. So this is the net biome productivity. It's taking also into account all processes in the soil, so soil respiration, decomposition of soil. And here we have a slight different picture. So we don't have a clear increase of the long-term carbon uptake. It's more a slight decrease, which is also due to a higher temperature. The microorganisms in the soil are more productive, more active, and more organic carbon is released to the atmosphere. And again, here we can see that the extreme events decrease. We have droughts, we have hot summers, and also this is reflectance in the long-term carbon uptake, which can additionally be a positive feedback for increased CO2 in the atmosphere. Yeah. And with this slide, I would give back to Benoit.
Thank you.